The mistake that people make on this question is they think that they need a comprehensive understanding of the passage to be able to answer this, right? So this is how most tutors, most English teachers would tell you to attack a question like this. We're asked for the overall structure, so you better read the passage and summarize the structure. A lot of tutors will tell you, make a summary sentence for every single paragraph so that you know how everything relates. That is such a stupid waste of time, and it completely ignores the fact that we don't need to come up with our own summary, because this is a multiple choice test, not an essay. We're given 4 summaries, A, B, C, and D, right? Use the fact that this is a multiple choice test to your advantage. We do not need to invent our own summary here. We can use the summaries that are given and just evaluate whether or not they're correct. It is faster, it is safer, and it is going to get you these points much more confidently. We have things that we can test. And so this is a very traditional process of elimination question. Our job here is to find things in these choices that we can test against the passage. So my vague memory of the passage, because I would do this question last after I've answered everything else in this passage, so I'd have a sense of what it's about. My vague memory is that salt is stretchy, and that's pretty cool. That's it. So maybe that's a dumb summary that I might want to include here. My own dumb summary, salt, stretchy, cool. Good enough. So let's look at some different things here. Let's use a different color to show you what I want to evaluate and look for here. A list of several ways in which salt's properties differ from researchers' expectations. Well, be literal here. If this passage does not start with a list, it's not right. So my memory, I don't remember that. But right now, that's something I'm going to look at when I do go back and look at this passage. Is a list is a list. Unless we start with a list of properties, this is not right. I don't care about the other part, differing from researchers' expectations. That might be right. It's another thing to check too, but that list idea is really important. Looking at B, a presentation of a hypothesis regarding salt behavior, description of an associated experiment, and explanation of why the results weaken the hypothesis. So, first of all, if they don't talk about an experiment, no good. I kind of remember an experiment, though. I remember a microscope kind of coming in and out somewhere, so that memory seems to check out. But what doesn't check out is this idea of it weakening the hypothesis, right? I remember this passage being pretty positive, right? That word cool is there for a reason. It seemed like they were happy with what they had found. So weakening, I feel like I would have picked up on that. I feel like I would have seen a lot of negative words and negative vibes, and I would have said, okay, then that would have been part of my dumb summary, and it's not. So that doesn't look good. And so for that reason, I'd say it's probably wrong. Looking at C, we have a similar problem, right? A description of 2 salt crystal experiments. So again, be literal. If it's not 2 experiments, that choice can't be right. But let's keep going. The apparent disagreement in the results, again, negative vibes, and the resolution by more sensitive equipment. So it even sounds like maybe there's a 3rd experiment. But disagreement, I'm not loving it. Maybe I'm misremembering. So when I go back, I might need to adjust, but it doesn't match with the connotation that I'm feeling from this passage. D, an introduction to an interesting salt property, pretty positive. Description of its discovery and speculation regarding its application. So, okay, that's nice and vague, too. Description of its discovery, that could mean anything. That could mean that they talk about an experiment, but that's pretty vague. Speculation regarding its application, that's also something I can test. So now let's just kind of look. I'm pretty sure it's D because it matches with what I'm expecting here, but there's certain things I can look for and test pretty quickly. So the first part here, inflexible salts, blah, 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 stretchy, findings may lead to new approaches. Okay, pretty cool. Then they talk about, in this quote, it's special, great, metals are loosey-goosey. So they're talking about superplasticity. They're talking about stretching again. This unusual behavior highlights different forces. Okay. So far, I'm not getting a list of properties. They're talking about maybe one property, the stretchiness, this entire time so far. So list is not looking good. Moore and his colleagues discovered salt stretchiness accidentally. So they discovered it. That matches with the description of a discovery, right? So that seems pretty good. They were investigating, they were doing some sample, there's something about a microscope, then there's a tip and the stalled stretched, okay. The initial attraction was thought for this, okay, great. Oh, they're speculating something. Several mechanisms might lead to the elasticity, so they're wondering what's going on. So surface tension, again, we're still talking about the stretchiness. Bizarre behavior is mirrored. Sodium chloride is everywhere in the air in our bodies. This may change our view of things and what's happening. The work also suggests new techniques for making nanowires, which are often created through nanoimprinting techniques. We may invoke the intuition of the macro world. He says maybe instead of stamping nanowires, should we be pulling them? Okay, so that's pretty weak, but that is speculation regarding its application. Maybe instead of stamping the nanowires, we pull them. It's weak, but it's there. So that checks out. That it's an interesting salt property. It's positive. They're saying that the stretchiness is cool. I got that part. And then in A, list of several ways in which salt's properties differ from their expectations. It's just not that. It's one property that they seem focused on. The whole passage is not a list. It's this one property, and then they keep talking about the property in different ways. So D is definitely the answer here. And to be quite honest, I think I spent more time on this question for this video than I would have if I were doing this on my own. I was pretty certain it was D right from the start, just based on my memory. But I wanted to show you that, okay, our memories aren't perfect. We might not have confidence in our memories. And so some of the things we can do as we go through are just, we read with purpose. Notice, I'm not reading the passage and coming up with my own comprehensive summary of what's going on. I'm getting a very dumb, simple version at best. More important is using process of elimination, looking at the choices, looking at the summaries that they give you, and finding things in those summaries that you can test as you go through the passage. Is it a list? Are they talking about weakening a hypothesis? Are they talking about 2 experiments or 1 experiment? Right? These are things that we can look for. And if we have purpose when we read, we're much more likely to notice when we find the right thing that we need. So that's what you want to do. Don't just read with purpose, and you'll spot things much more easily. It's a little backwards, but it's a multiple choice test. So working backwards is totally fine. Makes it a lot easier for us.